concern is growing for the health of the Thai king. 88-year-old King Bhumibol Adulyadej is the world's longest reigning monarch. On Sunday, the palace announced that his condition was unstable after he'd been through dialysis treatment. During his 7 decades on the throne, the king's intervened when events have threatened to plunge Thailand into crisis. But the country's strict lèse-majesté laws mean public discussion of his health and succession plans aren't permitted, and they're punishable by lengthy jail terms. Andrew MacGregor Marshall is a journalist who's lived in exile from Thailand for the last 5 years after writing critically about the royal family. He explained the significance of the end of the reign of this king for Thailand.
It's a momentous time because King Bhumibol has been reigning for 70 years. And in many ways, he's held Thailand back, and particularly Thai democracy has been rather stunted. Bhumibol's often supported military regimes, and this kind of ancient Thai culture of deference to royalty, of prostrating on the ground, a law which means you can't even say anything critical about the royals, all these kind of throwbacks to the past have survived during Bhumibol's reign. And now that he's dying, it looks like this old culture of Thainess and the kind of anti-democratic elements of old monarchism are dying too. So we're going to see Thailand suddenly, I think, facing a huge amount of culture shock.
He is incredibly loved. He is a man who is revered, isn't he?
Yes, but the royal propaganda will tell you that all Thais unquestioningly love the king. And it's true that many Thais do love him. That's partly because, they think he's done some genuinely good things. It's also because there's been a huge amount of propaganda throughout, his reign, portraying him as an almost godlike figure. But a lot of Thais don't buy the propaganda, and especially in the last decade, since a military coup in 2006, we've seen an increasing number of people questioning the monarchy and questioning King Bhumibol. So he is generally revered. You will see many Thais in the streets weeping when he dies, but it's not quite true that everybody loves him.
How much power does the royal family have, would you say?
Formally, they have no real power. According to the Constitution, they're purely ceremonial. But the reality is really different. They have immense power, and it comes from 2 main sources. The first is the kind of sacred aura of royalism. Now, many Thais, they believe in spiritual power, and that certain amulets and certain statues and certain people have more power than others. And the Thai royals are right at the top. So just by the fact that they are the senior royals, Thais have immense kind of social influence because of their so-called sacred power. The second source of power is much more prosaic. They have a vast amount of money. We don't know how much the Crown Property Bureau has, but it's been conservatively estimated at least $50 billion. That's the biggest royal fortune in the world and the biggest fortune of anybody in Thailand. So this money allows them to exert immense influence because they can spread it around amongst their allies, helps them, create a network or a so-called network monarchy of companies and businessmen who support them.
Given that it's impossible to speak critically about the Thai king, you can't ask people's opinion about the monarchy in Thailand, how do you judge what may happen with the succession?
You're quite right. I mean, it's illegal for Thais to talk about any of this. And succession is hugely controversial in Thailand because the designated heir is Crown Prince Vajiralongkorn. And quite frankly, he's widely hated and feared. That's kind of one of the worst kept secrets in Thailand. There are many powerful Thais who oppose the Crown Prince, and there's still a small possibility that we might see conflict or some kind of attempt to block him. But what you will see if the Crown Prince becomes king is that all this sacred reverence, all the reverence for the monarchy that we saw under King Bhumibol, that's all going to disappear. Now, Bhumibol was able to help, the military rule often in dictatorships because since he supported it, a lot of Thais accepted it. Now the Crown Prince won't be able to, use a benevolent aura to support dictatorship. So you'll see much more of a rule by fear. And in my view, that kind of thing can't last particularly long. Sooner or later, you will see a big change in Thailand because people won't accept being ruled by a prince they hate, by a prime minister who seized power with the military, and sooner or later they're likely to want change and democracy.
The views of journalist Andrew MacGregor Marshall.